So I never really planned on making a video with this disc, but after throwing it for a few days, I am quickly falling in love with the Evolution Diamond Element from Gateway. I do believe this is an older, kind of more vintage run. The flight numbers are 792-1. And obviously this flight number system is a little bit different than, what we might all be familiar with. But after throwing it, I'm not gonna say it's a 9 glide, but it definitely is bordering that. So maybe 5 or 6 range, which is really impressive for a mid-range that also features a little bit of stability. So let's get this thing underway. 9 holes. Just look how absolute dead straight money that thing was. That's first throw of the day, and I'm finding that is such a great flyer. And we'll be putting with a wizard. So I've thrown a new run of the same disc, and it's not quite the same as the old run. The ones with the 7-9 flight numbers seem to be just so dead straight. They go so far, but they still have that reliable stability where I can throw it really hard and it's gonna turn just a little bit, but it's still gonna fade a little bit at the end. We're also gonna be putting with the double bearded wizard stamp, eraser style wizard. I thought it'd be fitting to putt with a Gateway putter if we're gonna be throwing a Gateway disc. Not a terrible first hole of the day, but as you guys just saw, this thing absolutely goes. The profile is really nice. It's maybe a touch slower feeling than a Leopard, a touch faster feeling than a Buzz. You guys saw just how dead straight and how awesome that thing flew just on the very first throw of the day. We need to keep it on a little bit of hyzer here. As you guys saw, this disc likes to fly absolutely dead straight. But if we encourage a little bit of hyzer, we should be able to get it around the corner. See, even after that little touch of the tree, that disc just wants to straighten out. And I was out throwing it at Sugar Creek yesterday, and that thing just goes absolutely dead straight. Whether you throw it 200 feet or 400 feet, it just wants to go laser beam straight. Let's be honest, Gateway is a company that is extremely hit or miss. I really like the Diamond Plastic Apex. Gateway sent me a massive pack of discs, some of which I thought were really awful, and some of which I thought were really incredible. Gateway is a brand that they just keep pumping stuff out. And I definitely respect that. They definitely take risks. If the plastic is a little weird, super rubbery, weird, rubbery pop top, they don't really care. They'll just put it out, which I do think there's some fun to that. But I just think they've developed a reputation of that the discs aren't as good as other brands because sometimes they just put out such weird stuff. But then every once in a while, when you get a good run of Gateway, it matches any of the other top brands. This is an extremely high quality disc. And it's not just the plastic quality, it's also the flight. It's the way it looks. The stamp is super clean. It's got a multi-gradient foil. Just across the board, such a great disc. And I wish all Gateway discs were like that. Come on. 2 cage hits. You can just see across the board. Really nice looking plastic. Feels really nice in the hand. It's stiff on the rim, but a little bit pliable in the middle. Exactly how I like my discs. Then you've got a nice multi-gradient foil, the green Gateway. Across the board from top to bottom, this is just an incredible Frisbee. With Gateway, there's always that little bit of risk. If I buy a disc, is that consistency going to be there? Because it seems like in a lot of cases they have less consistency than some of the other brands. But if I had the opportunity to go into the Gateway warehouse and hand pick an entire bag, I could fill my bag full of discs that are like this one, and I'd have one of the best lineups you could possibly get. A good run of Gateway goes toe-to-toe with anything, but a bad run of Gateway is just so awful. I mean, just look at that flight. The thing is so good. It's so good. It's so good. All right, we got another tough little birdie putt here. So see if we can get our first bird of the day on hole 3 here. There we go. Took a few putts to warm up. And my friend Wes told me this was an older run. I don't actually know how old this disc is, what era it's from. So if this is a disc that you could just go readily get in this exact plastic, and obviously one of the more flat ones, this is a really awesome disc. And I think if I had to compare it to anything, it flies how you wish the Buzz flew for you. The Buzz is one of those discs that people think is super straight, but really it has a pretty stable finish at the end. Most people probably should be bagging a Buzz SS. This flies very similar to a Buzz SS, but I actually think in the hand, I like this plastic a bit more than Discraft's. I mean, I just feel like I can't throw a bad shot with that disc. Every single time it leaves my hand, it just comes out so clean, and you just see how straight that disc wants to fly. On hole 1, I threw a little bit over 300 feet. This hole is right around 200 feet, and regardless of the shot, it just stays so dead straight. And I'm not trying to hate on Gateway. They've made some of the greatest disc golf discs ever made. They were also pioneers very early on in the sport of disc golf. And there's a reason they've been around as long as they have. And they may not be the most relevant, but they also don't fall into extinction. A big part of that is obviously the Wizard. A lot of people have been putting with Wizards for a long time. So I feel like the Wizard alone probably sells enough to keep them in business. They have so many different runs, so many different plastics, all sorts of fun artwork. There's always a new Wizard you could go out and buy. And that definitely has propped Gateway up over the years, in my opinion. But they do have some other really notable discs as long as you can get the right run of them. And this was happening to me at Sugar Creek yesterday. When I was throwing this disc, I was finding myself going a lot farther than I thought I would. And again, it may not be a 9 glide, but it's as close to a 9 glide as a mid-range can be. This thing truly just goes for days. The Wizards, just they're glidey, but they're still stable. It's definitely a different kind of putting style than my KC Pro AVRs, which tend to fly a lot more straight. And I'm a huge mid-range enjoyer. I love throwing my mid-ranges. I love Meteors. I love Buzzes. I love DX Rocks. But unfortunately, you can't have every single one of those in your bag unless you want to just have an insane amount of overlap. This disc is something that I want to put straight into the bag because it just goes farther and it goes straighter than all of my other mid-ranges. And it's really impressing me, especially off the tee. Oh, for a split second, I thought that was going to go off the tree and go in. It was a good try. And I am missing a lot of these birdies, but it is not the element's fault. It is my user error with the Wizard. And one thing I really respect about Gateway is they don't really succumb to the peer pressure of the current scape of the game and the landscape of professional disc golf. They don't really have a lot of prolific pros on the team. They have a lot of lower tier pro players that will go out, represent their brand, throw their brand well in their local area. You know, maybe they go out and win some pro tournaments in their area. But you don't really see Gateway being thrown very much on tour. And I don't think that means that the discs are bad quality. I just think that's a business move by Gateway. They just don't want to get caught deep in a bad contract like, you know, Trilogy has done in the past, like Prodigy has done in the past, and basically like every other brand has done in the past. You never really hear about Gateway making a huge mistake and getting, you know, in too deep with a bad contract. They just do what they do. They do their best at it, and they keep their expenses down. And that's how they've stayed in business all these years. Oh, he gets lucky. Hit another trip the fairway. Not super lucky, but lucky to stay in the fairway. Now, it's kind of racking my brain. If Gateway was to sign a big player, who would be a good fit for them? And maybe this is crazy, but the first players that come to mind are Ezra and Isaac Robinson. I think if things continue to go downhill with Prodigy, they continue to lose reputation, they continue to lose money, all their friends already left the brand pretty much. Gavin Babcock's gone. Gannon's gone. Alden's gone. I think eventually Isaac and Ezra will probably leave as well. Maybe Gateway makes a move on those guys, because those are going to be two guys that are going to be popular for a long time. they're going to play well for a long time, and they're going to make the discs look really good, and they're not going to be as expensive as some of the other top players. I know that might sound crazy, but sometimes having crazy ideas like that can be fun to think about, and think about what discs certain players would throw with different brands. I know as a fan of the sport, it's fun for me to just kind of think about what would those guys throw from the Gateway lineup if they were to leave Prodigy. It's just super fun to think about. Do it. I'm like almost dialed with the Wizard, but the glide always surprises me and the stability always surprises me. It's just a different style than the AVRs that I'm used to. Hole 7 is a hole, we just need to keep it on a little bit of hyzer, throw it nice and soft, hit the gap. That's a bit too much hyzer, but it's going to give us a nice little circle 2 birdie putt again. You guys let me know, if Gateway was to pursue a big name player, who do you think would be a good fit? The reason I think Isaac would be a good fit, he's just not a flashy player. Gateway is not a very flashy brand. He's got a very old school style of disc golf that I think matches up with an old school style brand. And I think it'd be super fun to see them sign a big player because, again, they do have really awesome discs. And if you were to just rip through that whole warehouse, you would find so many great runs of discs in there. But you definitely would have to pick and choose, you know, the certain runs that you really come to enjoy the most. But who do you guys think would be the best fit for Team Gateway? Current touring pros, comment below. I babied this shot a bit too much. This is not a good element hole. Element is just too glidey for a hole like this. Did he do it? Nope. It's like I'm almost there with the Wizard. I would really like a stack of Wizards in maybe the 2S or maybe the 1S. Something that has that, I don't know, it's just a little too grippy, the eraser plastic. I just want something like a little more plasticky and firm. But I just love the Wizard mold so much. And again, one thing that I truly love and admire about Gateway, and I don't think they're going to sign a huge pro, and that's something I really respect from Gateway. When you don't have these huge contracts looming overhead, like a Discraft, like a Trilogy, like some of the other major manufacturers, you can keep those costs down. You don't need to sell that much plastic to keep things rolling, so Gateway's been able to keep things rolling for a long time. They're never going to find themselves, you know, head underwater because they are so responsible with their money. They're not taking huge risks, and they're just staying in their lane, making a living off the Wizard, maybe the Elements, maybe the Apex, maybe the Devil Hawks. Some of their other popular molds do sell decently well, and I see them out on the course once in a while. But overall, I mean, the Wizard is good enough and popular enough and time-tested enough to basically prop the entire brand up on its shoulders, which is super cool. Because when you have a powerhouse disc like the Wizard, and you have low expenditures and very few pro players on your team, probably not many salaried players, if any at all, you just keep things rolling. You just have fun, make whatever you want, and you just don't have that pressure that comes with, you know, some of the other big manufacturers and their big name pro players. All right, this is gonna be a very difficult shot. It's not quite understable enough for a hole like this, but if I hit it just right, we could possibly get there. Nope. And this is a hole where you really want a flippier disc that's gonna hyzer flip a lot sooner in the flight. I have no doubt that the Element would eventually straighten out on that line, but I'd have to throw it really hard and it would flip up later in the flight. But we stayed on hyzer, we hit a tree, and we landed over here. All right, hole 9 at Reedy. There's two lines. There's a little flex forehand up the middle, which you'd want to use something really stable. You could also throw a thumber with something stable, but we're gonna go with the super sketchy turnover line and see if we can do the Element justice on the turnover here. Go in. Oh, dude, that was, it's probably hard to see for you guys, but I missed the A spot probably about that much. That was an amazing throw. Again, as I stated at the beginning of the video, I didn't really plan on doing a video with the Element, but after I went out and threw it a bunch yesterday, that thing is awesome. I'm not sure if it's that particular run. The other Element that I did own had super dome on it, did not fly nearly as well, and I actually gave it away because I just simply did not enjoy it at all. But that Element is an absolute beaut of a disc across the board. It goes far, it goes straight. It has flip to it, but it'll still come out and fade at the end. Sometimes the meteors, they just get away from me and they just stay on turn. Sometimes my rocks turn over on me and they just stay turned over. But that Element is just a touch more reliable and probably one of the highest level mid-ranges I've ever thrown. Again, it's very similar to the Buzz SS, but I just like that diamond plastic from Gateway more than I like most of the Discraft plastics. All right, guys, Gateway Element, you want to get the one with the fake flight numbers, 792-1. Just look at that beautiful profile. Very, very small micro bead on this bad boy. Just feels like an absolute beaut in the hands. Really incredible mid-range from Gateway. Gateway, if you see this video and you've got more of these Evolution Diamond plastic Elements, hook your boy up. Come on, this thing is awesome. I'd love a few backups. It probably won't make the bag unless I can get a few backups. But shout out to my boy Wes. He gave me this disc to use in today's video. Wes, I'm going to be honest, you may not get this back. I absolutely love this. I'm going to have to send you something else in its place. Anyway, you guys are watching Iceberg TV. Thank you so much for watching my channel, and take care.